This is Chicken Ball. Come at us, bro.
Welcome back to the Chicken Ball Pod, the worst Tottenham show on the internet. It's Thanksgiving today in the States, and I'm joined only today by Scott, as I guess everybody else was too thankful for what they had to not come on the show. But Scott, it was a tough decision for me not to celebrate Thanksgiving today, being in Canada and it just being a regular Thursday.
Yeah, man, tough for you down there. It's a whole different ball game. What, 100 miles away from where you are right now, but and unfortunately a little bit different of a Thanksgiving. I am virtual this Thanksgiving, but we're drinking and we're with good people, so it could be worse.
Yeah, you bet. What I'm thankful for is having a team on top of the table, probably the best team ever to be on top of the table at this point in time.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think anyone who's been paying attention to the show knows this tracks, and we easily have the best team to have ever played the sport. No question about that. And it's just shining through, every week and every match at this point. So
yeah, no, it's exciting because obviously there's a long way to go in the season, but I remember for years, just like there were just games where like if Spurs beat, West Brom or somebody like that, they'd go number one in the table for a short period of time. They just never did it. Like finally, at least, we're like winning matches, like close matches that have actually put us on top, even for a short period of time.
Yeah, it's been substantial. It's been like a week or something since we've been top of the table. So it's exciting, man. And I think, we'll get into it, but today's match was just dominant, just an absolute dominant performance. And that's one thing against a team that we know is a little bit weak in Europa League, but that's coming off of an incredibly dominant performance against City, a string of good performances prior to that as well. So it's not a fluke by any means.
Yeah, well, today, the nice thing about today, and we know obviously it was lesser competition, but like it was still a rotated lineup, like 10 guys. Like Ndombele was the only guy that rotated out. So, we've seen for years, we didn't have the depth to play weaker teams, or we had the depth, we had, second string teams, but they didn't make life easy if they got over it all. I mean, you look at last year, what was it, Cheltenham or somebody, we lost to, which was kind of the final draw, I think, in the Pochettino back. But, this year, just genuinely having competition for places.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. We 10 rotations is incredible. I think I got to correct CBS because they said like 10 times they rotated all 11 people the entire side, but like I'm pretty damn sure Tanguy started against City as well.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, 10 pieces from the perspective of rotation is fucking nuts, man. And honestly, against Antwerp, I said that rotating 9 people cost us the game, and Jose must have heard me and said, well, I'll do you one better and rotate 10 and we'll fucking pummel Ludogorets. So, it's awesome to see. I just think I look at guys like Carlos Vinicius and a few more that we'll get into for sure. I don't want to just cover everything right away, but you look at a guy like Vinicius and how just shrewd he was, having not played a match in almost a month, extremely promising. We did not have to use Harry Kane for the second or third time, I think, this year. So
yeah, and Son as well. So I think Son, he looked like he might warm up to go on, but he never set foot on the field. But yeah, 10 is a lot. And we know Antwerp is a better team than Ludogorets. Like that's pretty obvious. Ludogorets is good. But yeah, like today, like players did look hungry. Like I'm obviously, not the biggest fans of guys like Davinson Sanchez or Winks. Both of them had good games. They both played really, really well.
Yeah.
They're pissed off, right? Like they both look like players who feel like they're not getting enough game time, but like they're putting their heads down and making, the most of their situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing, man. They are, rather than rolling over and complaining and whining, they are putting their heads down and working hard. I agree. Sanchez played great today. Him and Tanganga, I think there was a point in time where everyone kind of wondered if those two were the future of the back line, right? Hey, look at this fucking guy. Look at this fucking guy. He shows up. Oh, dude, we were just talking about Harry Winks. Fucking perfect. Yeah. I got a glass of wine too, my friend. Cheers. Happy Thanksgiving.
Mort, happy Thanksgiving.
This is not a glass of wine. This is about a bottle of wine in, fellas.
Hey, I'm gonna go. I'm on bottle number 2 myself. I might go get a refill, but Well,
Listen,
yeah,
I'm
man.
only on here because I heard Shubes was gonna join. So if he's not here, you guys can fuck off and I'm leaving.
Shuban said he had to take a piss. Apparently in England that takes fucking 20 minutes. So
I think he's taking a deuce. He didn't want to say anything. Boys, what a fucking match, huh?
Holy shit, man. What a day, right?
Yeah,
what a fucking day.
Beautiful. You know, I will say one thing. I think it's important to enjoy matches like this. It's also incredibly important not to get too carried away with these kinds of matches, right? Like this is the kind of stuff teams like us should be winning. What really excited me about today is if you look back at Antwerp, we rotated and we did not look good. We did not play well. And right, we all talked about that, yeah? I love the fact that on this match, the lineup came out, and I mean, I probably messaged all my buddies. I was like, fuck, this is a huge rotation. On paper, this looks exciting. It looks great. But in practice, we've seen this fail. What's going to be different this time? And I mean, obviously, 90 minutes later, we did not allow a single shot on goal, or like a single shot, rather. They did not have a single shot against us. How that's fucking remarkable.
For the first time, we actually don't need Bennett to calculate the XG because it is 0.
No.
Fucking 0.
It was 0. It was what was not 0 was the number of goals Harry Winks scored today. Scotty, I just wanted to. What is that? Is that a statistically inaccurate statement, or is that a fact?
That is a very
It's not an interpretation, is it?
That is an accurate statement, and honestly, we were just talking about how well Winks played today, and not only how well he played today, but his resilience in the face of some stiff competition, right? When he knows he's going to have to earn every single minute. And he had an interesting interview today, actually, where at the end of it, he did allude to the fact that he's maybe not terribly happy with the situation, but the fact that he went out and put a 10 out of 10 performance, in my opinion, says he's a badass,
in his last 3 matches, he has 2 assists and a goal. But like, here's the thing, right? Like, here's the thing. I'm still not going to start him against Chelsea. Right? No. I'll fucking stand, right? Like I'll stand here Winks all day, but I'm not going to start him against Chelsea. The way our system is set up, we are not a possession-based team. He's a possession-based midfielder. We do not need him. Now, ideally what would happen is against a game like West Ham, when you're up 3 goals, you bring in a possession-based midfielder to then see out the game, and he didn't do that. So I can see why there's hesitation. And I also see why he's not starting the big matches. But I think it's important to recognize that the man still has something in his locker. I think he gives us the ability to play different tactics and formation. I think he did phenomenal today. Again, it's Ludogorets at home. They're bottom of the table in our group. We shouldn't get too carried away with this. But again, we were supposed to do something and we did it. And that's fucking cool.
Well, and the thing, Winks, you're spot on. One of my notes here is that, he is not going to be useful in probably 7 out of 10 matches, but very useful in the other 3. He's so good at resetting the play, and when you're going to deploy a high press and a possession-based approach, then you have to have that reset guy, and that's what he does so well. And we pressed the shit out of them today. Kat was sitting on the couch, my wife Kat, and she loves Cardi B, and that press, Cardi don't need no press. Just kept saying that fucking over and over, just eating that press up, man. But all jokes aside, we fucking chewed those guys up today.
It probably sounded a lot better when Kat said it, because
way better, man.
I kind of, that was me puking a little bit.
I'm a Gotti white man, so I should not be rapping Cardi B.
Hey Andrew, what, like, on the day like this, us Americans give thanks for many things, including a resounding Tottenham win. What did you give thanks for today, or do you just not give a shit about giving thanks?
I don't, mostly. That is a good shout, actually, of yours. Just before you joined, now we got Shuban as well. He'll share the sentiment with me. We called today Thursday because Thanksgiving was 6 weeks ago. So, but what I was telling Scott was I'm thankful that we support the world's best team, who's in number 1 right now, probably the best team ever to be sitting 1 at this exact moment in time.
Listen again. What I love about the evolution of this podcast is we are now speaking facts and truth. And what you just stated is nothing short of fact and truth, that at this point in time, we are the top team in the Premier League, and we're also the best team in the Premier League. Have we started talking about Chelsea yet? I know I kind of joined late. I'm probably going to bounce early because we have some friends here, but did we already start talking about Chelsea? Because
no, we briefly covered just a City win, very briefly. We talked a little bit about today. You didn't miss a whole lot, but no. Do you want to give your 2 cents on Chelsea?
Yes, I would love to. I'm nervous about this one. Going into City, I was very excited and I felt supremely confident. You heard the pod. We never loaded it, but you guys who were on it heard it.
I knew of it.
None of our yeah. Our fans did not know this because we suck and we never uploaded it. But
we don't have any fans.
No, of course not. I mean, our only fan is actually on the podcast. So that's kind of fucked because now we have no listeners. I was very confident against City. I am not confident against Chelsea. I think it's one of those matches where it's going to be a 2-1 win for us or a 3-1 win for them. Here's the thing. Against City, we were playing counter-attacking football. When City recovered the ball, they didn't counter, they built from the back, right? Right? So we would counter-attack. We would either not score or they would regain possession, and then they would slow the pace down, build it up, try to get the ball to the 3 playmakers' feet, right? Whether it was, like Mahrez, Bernardo, or like KDB. I think Chelsea are a very different team. I think the moment they recover the ball, they're gonna go on the counter-attack, and I just don't think that our team can handle that. They have to be explicit tactical instructions by Jose that say, when we are in the final third and in possession and attacking, there has to be 1 player at the half line. There has to be 2 players sitting outside the box. Under no circumstance are you to chase a through ball or a cross or anything. Stay outside the box. Just be prepared for the counter that Chelsea will do. And remember, Chelsea have a shitload of pace and they have a shitload of talent. We can say what we want about them, but they have all those things. So I think versus survive that match, we need explicit instructions from Jose to say that when we are countering and in the final third and taking our shots or making our chance, we must have players ready on their heels to run back, because if we don't succeed in scoring a goal and they recover, they have the pace, they have the talent, and they have players that can run any of the channels on the counter. So that's why I'm nervous, Andrew. Again, I think we have the talent to win it 2-1. I also believe they have the talent and the skill to beat us 3-1. So I am significantly more nervous about this match than I was against City.
Well, I think, too, the reason you start to get nervous is because the expectations, again, they just start to rise after an impressive win against City. Obviously, an impressive win today against a lesser side using our second rotation for the most part. But, I remember the game last year when it was Mourinho against Lampard, and everybody's saying, well, Lampard out-coached. I mean, again, we didn't have half the team that we have now, but it's to hear some kind of sentiment like that. But Shuban, I'll pivot to your thoughts there, just based off what Mort had said. So obviously 2 very different teams between City and Chelsea. Chelsea clearly a lot higher up the table than City, who are having their own issues right now, despite having talent. But what are you thinking going into the Chelsea match?
I kind of concur with Mort. I think City are on the decline, which sounds a bit weird to say, but they're basically having to regenerate, kind of thing. And Chelsea kind of had their regeneration last season, and they've been able to build upon that. I think, who's that guy? Is it Mendy? Is it not Mendy, the goalkeeper who's joined?
Yeah, Mendy. Yeah,
Mendy.
He's clearly a massive improvement on Kepa, just because he has the trust of his manager.
Yes.
And I look at that and I think it's one of those, because they did a thing on the standard of like combined Spurs and Chelsea 11s, and it was very, very tight. But this is probably alongside Liverpool going to be our toughest games of the season. Oh my God, we both wearing MKE Spurs shirts.
Beautiful,
adorable.
So the thing is, I was actually wearing this. So I actually, because I think Mort was there when I was given this. I forgot the name of the guy who gave it to me. Mort was there in the pub on that day, and I wear this for European games. I didn't know I was going to be on tonight, but the fact that he actually ran.
I did. It's funny, Shubes. I get about 7 or 8 tweets a day asking if I'm Shubes. They're like, "Hey, aren't you Shuban?" I was like, "No, I'm not Shuban. I'm Mort. Shuban's the other guy." So people confuse us. So I figured I just really throw him for a loop, by putting this on.
We are wearing glasses. We're brown guys with glasses. But the fact that you have a very American accent and I have a very fake English accent.
That's right.
Yeah. Although on Twitter my accent is really not I'm assuming they're not shown, right? I mean, right. Like,
that's fair.
you can't really tell about my American accent on Twitter. Yeah.
For anyone who's been listening for years, Shuban is not English. His English accent is not real. Like, it's just, he carries it very well.
Yeah.
Ask
to see his birth certificate. It's Steve from Jersey.
He's actually from Canada.
Steve from New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
Steve from Jersey, and not the St. Helier part of Jersey. There's some Jersey of Jersey City or Hoboken.
Yeah, I think Shuban's actually coming live to us from Oshawa, Ontario.
Yeah. I thought it was Saskatchewan. Was that
Saskatoon?
Saskatoon. There you go. Close enough.
I was going to ask if discuss this or not, but in terms of matchups, have you guys looked at that yet? The key matchups? Have you guys discussed that yet?
No,
we don't typically get that specific. We're not as intelligent as people like you.
No, I was going to ask more because I look at that and I think, for me, the biggest factor for me, we can say they've now put him back in the holding position, and with Højbjerg, who is now a holding midfielder. And I think whoever controls that midfield is going to win that game. So, more and Scotty and Andrew, just what do you think about that midfield battle? But I think that's going to be absolutely pivotal.
I think that I would agree with you, because I think between Conte and Kovacic, they have an incredibly strong midfield. But I do believe, Shubes, that Jose knows that, and I think he'll play us in the wide channels. Yeah, so I think that between Reguilon, Aurier, Sonny, Bale or Lucas, whoever ends up being in the right channel, like Stevie Bergwijn, I think we're going to see us being further wide, and he's going to take that midfield away. Either he's going to play around it or over it. I just don't see us trying to win that battle. I mean, I think quite honestly, physically we can, right? Like between Højbjerg and Sissoko, I mean, I would take, Højbjerg and Sissoko, in a bar fight over Conte and Kovacic any day, but that's not the name of the game, right? It's all about possession and ball control. Kovacic and Conte are just much better with the ball at their feet than Højbjerg and Sissoko are, right? Yeah. Like physically, Højbjerg and Sissoko are fine, but with the ball at their feet, they're not, right? We look like fucking, like baby giraffes compared to those guys, right? So I just don't think it's a battle worth fighting, right? We can win the war without fighting that battle. I think just we're going to have Højbjerg and Sissoko in midfield, so we'll have the presence there. They're not going to be able to run through us. They're going to have to work to get around us, but I just don't see us trying to build through the middle. I just don't, right? I just see us building around. I can see a lot of possession in the channel. I can see our center backs pinging the ball to the wider channels in their final third too, right? So I can see both Sonny and Bale trying to get the ball off their chest or off their head. So that's just what I foresee.
One question and follow up to that I have for whoever, I think, is Gio injured, or do you think there was, a tactical reasoning behind him being omitted today? And I'm speaking about what you just talked about, more the fact that we may use the midfield differently, i.e. Tanguy won't start.
Yeah, he did pick up a knock. They said he did pick up a knock in training the other day. So, because that was the thing, right? Like, we had 10 substitutions, and Dembele was the one that wasn't a substitution. And certainly, if you were to guess who was going to be substituted, it would have been him, having just played against City for 3/4 of the match. But no, he did knock. We don't really know what that means. Like, maybe he just got stepped on. I don't know. Muscle pull or something like that. Like, it is starting to get irritating with him. This seems to keep coming up. Like, another Argentinian guy on our team, but. Otherwise, you assumed, well, I guess Lo Celso is starting against Chelsea. Now, that's kind of up in the air.
Well, it's going to be Tanguy, I think. I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, we talk about that dream midfield, and Mort was talking about like the ball control and everything else. Well, if we had Højbjerg, Lo Celso, and Ndombele, assuming Lo Celso can be fit, even for say 60 minutes. That is something that is ability. We have players that can progress the ball, that are press resistant, and that issue of physicality isn't as much an issue as it would be if you had bruises. And Chelsea don't have any real bruises, do they? I can think of in midfield.
No.
I just that's a conversation I see a lot. Is we have this dream midfield concept of Højbjerg and Ndombele and Gio. I do not believe that works. I don't believe that works because both Gio and Ndombele have a tendency to go forward, and you want them to go forward. What you don't want is either one of those guys trying to play holding midfielder or defensive midfielder, because Højbjerg alone cannot handle the entire midfield, because he also has a tendency to get forward, right? Like, we don't realize, I mean, like, how often do you see Højbjerg running into the box? Often, right? I mean, if you watch replays, he has a tendency to go after the ball in the box. So
Yeah,
I think if you do that, you're really leaving yourself open. And that's precisely why we have not seen it, right? Like, Jose is not an idiot. He knows those three are all talented. He also knows all three are press resistant. However, putting all three together, you have these players who have a tendency to go forward, which leaves a lot of unoccupied space that will be very, very easy to exploit for a team with pace. I think that's precisely why you see Sissoko lined up next to Højbjerg, is because you have that additional defensive-minded player who can, play alongside Højbjerg. And quite often you see Højbjerg playing further forward than Sissoko does, right? Like, if you look back to when the season first started, your starting midfield was actually Højbjerg and Winks. And even then, you saw Højbjerg playing further forward than Winks was. So I think, Shoops, to your point, I think in our mind, that's the dream midfield, right? It sounds exciting and sexy, but in practice, man, I just don't see it, because I think it just leave ourselves exposed.
Also, I think, tactics aside, neither of those guys can play 90 minutes right now. And so putting them on the field at the same time is problematic in itself, completely removing what you said, Mort, which is spot on, by the way. I mean, no doubt about it. But I think, you have to use those two strategically. They both offer a similar quality in different ways, right? But yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I do think it's interesting. We do see Højbjerg protecting from a little bit further up the field. Like, he still kind of plays as that protecting, destroying midfielder, but he does it a little bit more advanced. I wonder if that's a Jose thing or more of a tendency out of him, but whatever it is, it works, right?
I mean, he's never been, I don't think, a guy that's right in front of the defense. Kind of like or Dyer's probably a better example. Actually, he is your typical center midfield. But like the battle that I was looking at, to be honest, is at the back for us in a couple of areas. So one, obviously with Alderweireld getting hurt, we saw Sanchez start today. Tanganga also started. You assume Dyer is going to come back in, and so one of those two is going to be starting. If I had to guess, it would probably be Sanchez, with Tanganga still just returning. But like the other matchup that I'm really curious about would be Ben Chilwell and Serge Aurier. Serge Aurier had a really good game against he didn't do anything stupid. Again, like, you see the benefit of competition where guys know that don't have wide margins anymore. But Ben Chilwell definitely has been a really good signing for Chelsea. He pops up on the score sheet all the time, so I'm curious to see how that works. He's not necessarily the kind of guy that runs at you, like a Reguilon or something like that. But I think that's something that Aurier is going to have to watch for, is allowing a guy like that to just ping crosses into the box.
Yeah, but let me just. I'm sorry. Let me say one thing, because I need to actually run. Actually, I got a couple friends here, but no, I think that's a really good question for you guys to take up. But I do have to run. I will say one thing. One, it's incredibly exciting to be watching this team right now in the form that they're in. It's fucking sexy, and I haven't felt this excited in a very long time. It is Thanksgiving in America, so I do want to say that this has been a very difficult year for a lot of people, right? A lot of people listening and a lot of people out there. It's been challenging, but I think it's important to remember that the sun will rise. So it's important to stay positive, important to stay, focus on the fact that things will get better. So for those people that are out there kind of having a tough time and struggling, just remember that it's always darkest before dawn. So good talking to you boys. I got to run, but I'm just going to say that Tottenham are going to beat Chelsea 2-1.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Have some spot guy for me, man. Have some spot guy for me.
Yeah.
All right. So getting back to the actual question that I asked before Mort took us down that tangent there. So again, looking at the defenders, and so Scott, take that any way you want, because I'd mentioned you both in the center back pairing as well as on the right there. How do you see that shaping out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Sanchez with Dyer. Undoubtedly, Dyer starts. I think that's the most assured thing, other than Harry Kane, right? That we'll see in the 11. But I think Sanchez will line up next to him. I think you have Dyer on the left, Sanchez on the right. I think if Sanchez can play on the right, he's a little bit more comfortable. Thought he looked pretty composed today, actually, him and Japhet both. And interestingly enough, I think there was a time where people thought Sanchez and Tanganga might be, the future of our back line. They played really well today, but things like Dyer's emergence and Toby settling again have maybe barred that from talking points a bit. But still, they look good today. But I do think it's Sanchez. I think, in the pecking order, he has he has looked rough the past 9 months, but he's still a very talented footballer. And if anybody can figure it out, it's Jose. The Shuban, I think maybe I can pass this off to you here, and that was kind of an easy answer, but is Rodon worth talking about? Like, could he play?
You beat me to it. That was my question.
It's a weird. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, because lockdown doesn't finish here until next Wednesday, there's going to be no fans in the pit. There's going to be no fans there. So if anything, he's going to have to make his league debut, although you wouldn't want it to be away against Chelsea, there's going to be no fans there.
Yeah.
So that actually helps him in some respects.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
And the other thing is,
good point, man.
And the other thing is, what you have to remember is, it's Chelsea need to win this game. You want to win as many of your home games as possible, or you have home advantage. Even though without fans, what kind of home advantage do you actually have?
Yeah.
So there's a lot more pressure on Chelsea to win this game. We don't have to win this game. We just have to not lose this game. There's a difference. And I do think that the pressure is on them. We can play a counter-attacking team. I think we can. We're very, very well set up for it. I do agree with Sanchez just because of his speed. Someone, because I think Werner, who's the other one? Werner, and is the other guy playing? Pulisic is injured, isn't he? Pulisic, he's injured.
He could be back. I saw he could be back for the match. So likely in a substitute.
But but you've got Werner and Havertz, who are absolute speed demons on that line up on that side. So it does make sense to have someone like Sanchez who can match them speed-wise, and the strength isn't really an issue. The physicality. Werner's a big guy, but he hasn't got that physicality to say I don't know, what's that guy Troy Deeney used to have that used to bother him. So I do think Sanchez and Diam does make sense. And I do think, I don't know, I'm not, it's strange because we've got the game, obviously got the game, I think the Arsenal game coming up the following week, and just had the result this week, and obviously fans are going to be back there. I think it just works out timing wise. Nothing that we've done. We benefit the way the cards have fallen out. So I'm not saying I'm more confident, because I'm never confident against Chelsea. We have no reason to be. We've only won there once in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the fact that the lack of fans, Chelsea had a tough game on Tuesday. I mean, that was, although they won the game 2-1, that was really, the winner came from an error from one of the Rennes players, and Rennes absolutely battered. They just didn't have the finishing touch. Well, we have two players who, given half a chance, can bury them, absolutely bury them. So we play on the counter. We set up our stall very well defensively. I mean, I don't see us doing, I don't know, obviously we both watched the game today, all three of us. I don't see that high press, just because of the speed Chelsea had. That was suicide to play such a high press. Yeah. But I think if we play that low block, hit them on the counter, and especially, the way Kante is, he has got the energy, and he reads the game very, very well. But his is a more energy-based, breaking up play rather than a tactical reading of the game. He does both very well. His is more about the stamina rather than the reading of the game. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I do think that this is a war of attrition, and this is the kind of thing that Jose really likes. He likes to kind of get down in the dirt and make it. If he could cut off somebody, if he could cut off Chelsea's arm, so he'll sacrifice his arm if he cut off Chelsea's arm. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
That game of attrition. So I'm not saying I'm feeling confident, but if you look at, say, Chelsea, their main weakness is probably our main strength. I mean, Tammy Abraham's a decent player. He is, but I think he must have seen when he went. I think he was at the England squad. Calvert-Lewin's being picked ahead of him. So even the Calvert-Lewin isn't playing in the Champions League, whatever. He's playing for Everton, and they're not really doing that brilliantly. But he's already Kane's understudy. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Giroud, who is very good at London derbies, very, very good. He's 33. I mean, that's
definitely.
And they came in to shoot, but it's So, like I said, I do think this will go either way. I think it'll be a draw, 1-1 draw. But I mean, for me, I haven't seen enough of. I saw Havertz a little bit during the lockdown, but Werner, we know the problems he's caused us. I mean, we know how good he is.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting. I mean, in Ziyech, I mean, I don't know. That's one question I'll ask for you guys. Reggie obviously played. Obviously, we've spoken on the other pod that Scotty does as well as I
Which
do
one?
sometimes. Yeah, I know which one. Yeah, Reggie. Actually, I actually mentioned it actually on 4 stars, which is what I do sometimes as well. Reggie had a game against Mahrez and played pretty well against Mahrez. Do you think this sets him up to be more confident against someone like Ziyech, who I think is possibly better than Mahrez, even though he's only probably been here less than 3 weeks or something? He's already showing some, that incredible ability he had at Ajax. He's already showing it.
Yeah. He's a great.
What are your thoughts on the Reggie
versus around
it?
He's a fantastic player, and he's still just getting better in the Premier League. Like he obviously had a great start, and he is getting better. They're different players. Like I think Mahrez might be a little bit quicker, but I think Ziyech has a better shot on him. He can hit from outside. I think he can put a better ball. Like it'll be a test for sure. Like I think Reguilon is feeling pretty confident, but I also wondered I think a lot of the lineup does pick itself, but again, a spot that has not picked itself so far is who plays up top on the right. We saw Bale start today, presumably won't start on Sunday against Chelsea. So, and Mora played today. So again, is it going to be Bergwijn who started against Chelsea, or do you see somebody else taking that spot? Scott, I'll go to you.
Yeah, Stevie B for me all day. I think he seemed to have used that international break to his advantage, spent some time at the club, came back with a bit of a knock from the Netherlands camp, and then, started against City and played really well. He also, I know people talk a bunch of shit on Twitter, right? But he does look to be a little bit trimmer. Like he has just kind of tightened up a little bit, and I think that's important in England. You can probably succeed at 90% fitness in the Netherlands, but in England, not quite, and I think that was part of his progression. So he's looking really good, and I think Stevie B will be opposite of Sonny, outside of Kane for sure. The one thing that I'm curious to see what you guys think about, and feel free to tell me, fuck off, that's dumb, but is there any girth to using a back three against that Chelsea front four? And I say that knowing how depleted we are at the center back position, but I think that front four is very talented, but they haven't quite played together, for any substantial amount of time. Could a 3 center back setup just kind of quash that talent? Because right now, all you need to do is you need to keep that talent quiet. You don't necessarily need to set up to defend against an extremely cohesive front four, right?
Andrew, you taking that, or shall I?
No, please.
So here's the thing. I think I do like the idea, and it will surprise the crap out of Frank Lampard if we did do a back three. But I think it's probably, I'm not a Moor, obviously. By the way, my accent is actually fake English, but I'm not Moor. So I'm not going to be as effusive as he would be. I just think it's a huge risk to play formation you haven't played all season. I just think it's a huge risk.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts on it. And I remember when Chelsea played, when they were playing back three under Conte. And for some reason, I can't remember who the manager was. It might have been Koeman. And he decided, I'm going to play back three as well. He decided to match formations. The problem was, none of those Everton players knew how to play a back three.
Yeah.
They were out of position,
right,
and they just didn't know their jobs. Right now, we have players that seem to know their job. And look at the press, the ridiculously high press that we had, albeit against a lasagna-fed Ludogorets. That is, you can only do that if you all know your job. You all know where you're meant to be, and more importantly, you know where your teammates are covering. Because it's not just about where you need to be. You need to know where you need to be in relation to everyone else. It's like a string.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to know where they are in that link in the chain and how it moves. So I think a back three, he might do that. He might decide if we get a lead or something, I'll tie it up. But I think the way Højbjerg goes back to form three, I think Ben Davies, if Reguilon gets tired or gets on a booking, which I'm really worried about, is him getting on an early booking, then I think I could definitely see us playing a weird like that. So the unbalanced back three, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Davies would go on the one side and Serge would keep going forward. But I don't know, this is a game of real absolute fine margins, and I think host Jose will stress that you don't want to make mistakes. You do not want to give an early, because I just realised Thiago Silva, the last time we would have played him in a competitive fixture was in the Champions League knockout round back in 2010. That's how long, is it 2010, 2011? That's how long it's been since Silva played us.
Yeah.
And it's, and if you look at Silva, he didn't have the best of starts, but he is now acclimatized. Again, having a better goalkeeper behind him really helps.
Mm-hmm.
And that understanding, I mean, I don't know who the weak link is. I think Zuma's going to be the weak link.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think that's your target, but then Sanchez is going to be our weak link. I think, Andrew, you're quite right. I don't think we've had 4 candidates in that other wing forward spot, for one of the best word, and none of them have really either been injured. But I think I don't know if you guys noticed this, there was a moment he showed a bit of turn of pace and he went up a gear, but he's still not quite there yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Just doing that speed. I think Lucas can be very heads down, and I think he played better playing off the left. If that made any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Then he does on the right.
Yeah, I agree.
But Bergwijn, it's a weird one because Bergwijn had a real tough game against Kyle Walker, but Chilwell is no left-sided version of Kyle Walker. He's a good player.
Yeah.
And I think, he stands out. But I don't think, if he wasn't English, let's say his name was Benito Chiellini or something, I don't see Chelsea signing him because he is a homegrown player.
Yeah.
And that's worth a huge premium.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, just the same. If you had the choice between Reguilon and Chilwell, who would you choose?
Oh, Reguilon all day, man. I mean, Chilwell's a good player, but he's like a dependable left back, and I think Chelsea needed that. I think one area we need to exploit. Reece James is a hell of a player, don't get me wrong, but if I'm Jose, I'm telling Sonny to run over Reece James all day long. I'm like, you know what, this kid's young. He's talented, but he's got a lot of learning to do. Son, you are arguably one of the best 5 players in the sport on the planet. Just fucking eat that dude alive, and I think we'll see some of that too.
It's interesting though, because here's the thing: Reece James, he's very talented, but he's also very intelligent.
He's a great. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player, man. But it's Sonny, right?
No, I'm saying that. If it was Kyle Walker, I'd say try and play him against there, because if Kyle Walker hadn't played with him, no Sonny, I would say but Reece James is too smart to be caught up that way.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine Reece James being caught out that way. So I can see Sonny and Reece James having a good old ding dong battle over there. I can see Bergwijn, just because I think in terms of just sheer speed, Chilwell's quick, but he isn't Kyle Walker quick, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think you can use
Kyle Walker had a very good game, actually. He can be a bit of an idiot. Yeah. I remember watching a few one-on-one battles, whether it was Mora or Reguilon or Bergwijn, and he was always just right there. He did play really well, and I think that was on purpose to get Sonny away from him by playing him on the other side. So no, I agree. I think he's not slow, but he's faster than say Ben Davies is, but no, he's not going to be able to keep pace with either of those 2 guys on the wing if they get a chance to run at them.
Wait, Shuban, are you saying flip Sonny to the right side then?
No, I'm saying that the reason that I think Sonny will go against James is purely because Kyle Walker knows him. They know each other too well. And Kyle Walker's got.
So that's why he flipped Sonny against City. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
I think, but I suppose he thought, you know what? I'll play Bergwijn. He's quite physical. He's a strong, powerful guy. Kyle Walker, literally, I think didn't have him in his pocket, but he dominated him because Kyle Walker's a very physical, very strong, and he's powerful as well. People don't realize how strong he is.
He's like a running back.
And Bergwijn tried again and again. He just couldn't beat him.
Exactly.
I don't see Chilwell having that. I don't see just Chilwell. He is quick. He is strong, but I don't think, like I said, he has that. I don't think it translates. It's like a mirror image of Kyle Walker. So I think Bergwijn could have more success against, say, Chilwell. But for me, I just think my real worry would be this. It's just Werner, Ziyech, and Mount. I mean, he has really, from the kid that I saw at Derby to the player he is now, he's got incredible amounts of confidence. But I'm really hoping it'll be interesting to see how Ndombele, because I think Ndombele and Kante will have trained together for France, and that'll be interesting because how that's going to turn out, because obviously you're only within the national team for what, 3 days most in terms of that kind of stuff.
Well, it's an interesting point because Tanguy kind of took his performance against Pogba personally when we played United, and I think that's something we could all kind of tell. He got chippy with Pogba, really made it a point to remind Pogba that that he's there in the setup. I think anytime you're playing in a marquee Premier League matchup and you're playing against somebody in the same position as you for your national team or you're competing with day to day, like it's going to up your game, right? And or squash it, of course. And Tanguy really rose to the occasion against Pogba, and I think that tells me that he will be well prepared to battle Conte as well and do a good job.
Yeah.
Not to just totally change the subject, but Tanguy, my God, man, how good has that guy been? Just phenomenal. Worth every penny we paid for him, right?
Yeah, and I think if you look at some of the tackles, I was surprised about that because normally creative players, you just think, well, Ginola never tracked back. He was creative, so he didn't really mind that. But he is really brought into the Mourinho. If you are attacking, I think we saw Kane. He was defending. He was defensive midfielder or something against City. And when Kane is doing that, when your best player is doing that, doing the defensive, the not so nice, not so glamorous work, and they've all bought into it. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't know what you guys call it or whatever. They've all bought into what Jose wants. And I think when we played Chelsea last season, we played them, I think, was it? Because I think this time last year you'd come over just for the Olympiacos game. Hadn't you, Scotty?
A year ago today.
Yeah, to the Queen. See?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that it had only been about a month that Mourinho had been in charge, so he hadn't really had a chance to get his ideas across. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the buy-in wasn't always completely there. We're doing well. We're top of the league. If there's no buy-in now, there's never going to be buy-in. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
Well, I think if you think back to All or Nothing, the moment where Loris comes screaming out at Son for not tracking back, and appreciate being yelled at, and who would, but you could tell pretty quickly when they were in the dressing room, like it clicked with him. He's like, yeah, I didn't run back. Like he didn't say it out loud, but like you knew that he knew that Loris had a point. And when Loris is saying it's the same thing for Harry, it's the same thing for everybody else, like end of the half, you need to run back. And so again, like there was that fight in the way Mourinho handled it. He said, he's like, I didn't see everything. I don't know what happened. Either you can take this and you can sulk, or you can get better. And obviously, the team got better from it. Like you said, Shuban, if you don't have the buy-in now, it's not going to happen. But
yeah, it's a great point.
I think it's there. I just wanted to ask you guys one last thing, maybe before jumping off. So going back to today's game against Ludogorets, it's hard to take a lot from it, just because again we know it's not stellar competition, but there are things we could dive into. Vinicius, a couple of goals and an assist. What I actually really wanted to ask about was, there is this thing about Mourinho coming in. He doesn't play youth players. Well, Jack Clark gets in for his second match. And then Harvey White, Dane Scarlett, who's the youngest Spurs player ever to get into a competitive match, plays. Alfie Whiteman, I love goalkeeper subs. Just the ultimate sign of disrespect to the other team, your goalkeeper. But obviously it's a guy that doesn't get to play a lot. But, again, obviously it's getting those guys some minutes. But I'm just curious from both of you, and I'll start, Shuban, do you see them any other point in the season now where any of those players might get some minutes, whether it's a cameo role or a starter role? Like, I don't know, like what are you, the quarterfinals now of the Carabao Cup? We still got obviously a lot of rounds in the FA Cup. We're winding down the group stage in Europa. But do you see any space for any of those players to get any meaningful game time?
It's interesting. I don't know the result of the other tie, was it from Lask and Antwerp? So I don't know where we are points-wise.
Antwerp won. Antwerp leads the group with 9 points on goal or on head-to-head.
I think on head-to-head. So I think playing that game, just the way it's worked out, I think we have to win that last game kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if there's an opportunity to give players minutes, obviously because with the Arsenal game, he'll give them minutes. But I do think, obviously, as Andrew said, the FA Cup, but I think, that he's, because I remember someone actually asked Jose about that. Goes, you're not known for playing the kids. I'm like, well, I gave Varane his start at Real Madrid. I gave McTominay his start at Man United. And what you have to boil down to is that you have to have the good kids. Are they good enough to force the question? Or if they're not, they'll leave. Like Lamptey's a very good player, but he clearly didn't see him. They didn't see him as being good enough to force the question against both James and Azpilicueta. That's why he had to move on. And if you look at, say, Chelsea under, when he first started that project, 2003, he joined, a year later, and they were doing the whole player trading thing. So in those 3 years, did he get a chance to read bloody players? Probably not, because they were still working out, how they do their academy and everything else. Inter, I don't know anything about Inter. Dave, Scotty's friend Dave will know more about that. Real Madrid, again, they're Castilla B, so it's different kind of thing, the way that works. I think the one credit to Pochettino is that there's a real pathway from the kids to the first team, and you can see the pathway and how that's going to work. And so I don't think that whole Mourinho doesn't play kids. He'll play, he played, obviously the other thing you have to remember, we didn't have 5 substitutes in games, in European games before like we had now. So you have a much more opportunity to play kids than you wouldn't have had before. So I just think it's Mourinho. Mourinho's the kind of guy. Do you know, like, I don't know if you guys know about the concept of marginal gains. Have you guys heard of that? Marginal gains?
What's it called?
Do you know the concept? Marginal gains.
No.
Marginal gains concept. So
I've heard something about it.
What you do is you literally looked at just like the Team Sky, who were like do the Olympic cycling here. They had this idea of marginal gains. So they would literally look to get 1,000 or a 10,000th of a second on every single lap. That 10,000th became 1,000th. That 1,000 became 100th and a 10th, and it became a second. And over a lapse, that makes a difference between 5th and say 1st.
Sure.
Mourinho's a very smart guy, and if there's any way he can use, the system to his advantage, he will. I mean, that's one of the reasons we look at Pep and Jurgen Klopp. They use a lot of tactical fouling. So having 5 substitutes in a Premier League match really helps them, whereas that wouldn't help the other teams. So they're looking to have that advantage. So that's why I think Jose's got his advantage here, is that he can play. And you can play 4 subs. And do you know what? I'll give a kid 10, 15 minutes because I've got a sub left. But if you have 3 subs, it limits your chances. Limits your choices.
Yeah, no, fair point. I think that's the key difference there. I mean, again, like there's ways you can go with that. With Pochettino wanting to keep guys close to him, but we look right now at Oliver Skip, having a great season, down in the championship with Norwich, and you have to ask the question, would Winks have been better off if he had that opportunity rather than sticking with the team? It's great to get game time, but it's would he have built more confidence? Who knows? We'll never know the answer to that. I think Winks had a good game today. But no, having 5 subs obviously gives you a much bigger breadth of opportunity to play those guys. I think it's great to have that option. I mean, Scott, I don't know if you have anything further to add just on the young players there, if anything impressed you that you maybe want to see again later in the season.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, I think maybe against Lask, maybe against Stoke, if we were up by a bunch of goals, throw some kids on. I probably wouldn't against Stoke as much as I would against Lask. I think out of all the kids that got minutes today, Scarlett was the most exciting just because he got a touch and a chance. And I think even if he doesn't see the field again for 18 months, just that touch and that chance, I think, are going to be instrumental to his growth. And, that will be a big moment for him that he'll remember. At 16 years old, even if he's going to be a striker for this club, he's 6 or 7 years removed from that. So, or maybe 4 or 5 or whatever it is, just whatever. Who knows, but a ways off. So
Troy Parrott played last night. He had Troy Parrott played last night for Millwall.
Yeah, he did for Millwall. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think what we're kind of seeing under Jose. Last thing I'll say is I just think what we're seeing under Jose is give the kid some minutes, give the kid a year around the first team, and then loan him out for a couple years. Already have the experience around the first. Bring them back, with some minutes under their belt and see what happens. So, Scarlett probably is around Tottenham next year and maybe even the year after that, and then alone, and then we go from there,
So you heard it from Scott first. Dane Scarlett will be replacing Harry Kane within at most the next 18 months.
Hey, man, call it 12. Fuck it.
So now we're getting close to the top of the hour here. So I do want to pose one final question, with the match coming up against Chelsea. I want to score a prediction. Shuban, I'll start with you. You did say 1-1 earlier in the show, but has our expert analysis changed your opinion at all?
No, I'm going to take the draw.
I wouldn't have thought so either. Yeah, 1. So 1-1. Shuban says 1-1. Scott, what are you thinking?
I feel like I want to say like 7-8-0. I won't. I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs.
Yeah, I like to often go with the negative here and play mind games with everybody because then, the bar is so low. But it's hard to ignore right now the run we're on. I don't think we're going to have a lot of trouble scoring. I'm not saying we're going to blast 5 past, but I could easily see 3. I have a hard time seeing us keeping a clean sheet, with Sanchez at the back there, presumably, or, some kind of mistake happening. Again, just the sheer talent that Chelsea has up front. But I'm going to say 3-1 Spurs.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, Thanksgiving Day episode, which not meaningful to either me or Shuban, but to our 3 listeners there, if you're paying attention tonight, happy Thanksgiving to you. We certainly wish you all the best. Shuban, any closing notes?
No, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your carb coma and enjoy the other football that's going to start in about an hour's time.
Yep, it's going on all day.
Something like that.
Scott, any closing thoughts?
Close. All
right,
guys.
All I got,
man.
Thanks for joining us. We'll get this out. Thanks, Shuban, for coming on short notice.
Yep.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.